Kim Porter didn't die from pneumonia. That's bullshit, and everybody close to her knows it. They just won't say it out loud because they're scared, or they're paid, or both. I worked in that house. I cleaned her room. I saw what they did to her when no one was watching. I saw the bruises. I heard her crying. I saw how she started to fall apart after she began writing that book. She wasn't sick. She was scared. And she had every reason to be. The truth is, she knew they were going to come for her. She tried to warn people in the only way she could. And no one listened. Not until it was too late. So I'm done being quiet. I don't care who tries to shut me up. I'm going to tell you what really happened in that house. The part they've worked hard to erase. If you think people deserve to know the truth, the kind they don't put on the news, then you need to hear all of this. Don't just scroll past. Stay locked in. Subscribe, like, whatever you have to do, because I'm not done talking. And once I say what I saw, you won't forget it. Diddy assigned me to keep Kim safe from everyone except himself. And it's only now I understand how twisted that really was. Because the only real danger she needed protection from was him. But I was there, and I couldn't protect her. I worked private security on his payroll. I wasn't hired to guard the property or escort guests. I was placed specifically upstairs near Kim, not for her comfort, but to keep things contained. She hadn't asked for me. She wasn't given a choice. That job came straight from him. They said she was emotional. Said it was just stress from the twins, a little paranoia. They told me to keep an eye on her, make sure she didn't leave unexpectedly, watch who came to visit. None of it sounded right. And it didn't take long for me to see what was really happening. She moved through that house like she was trespassing in her own life. Always quiet, always cautious, barely speaking unless she had to. Her room stayed dim, curtains shut, doors half closed. She'd rock the babies in silence for hours. She'd walk barefoot down the hallway and flinch at every sound. She never looked comfortable, never looked safe. She didn't speak to me at first. I kept my distance. I wasn't hired to bond. But when we crossed paths, I noticed her eyes lingered. Not in fear, not exactly. More like she was trying to read whether I was another threat or something different. After a while, she started asking small things. Are you staying tonight? Are the cameras on upstairs? Always quiet, always measured, never casual. Her body told me what her words didn't. The way she moved, slow, stiff, protective of her ribs and wrists. The way she rubbed her shoulder after long phone calls. The bruises that changed location from week to week. She didn't try to hide them anymore. She just stopped explaining. Once I caught a fresh cut near her temple, right at the hairline. She saw me looking and adjusted her scarf without saying a word. I looked away like I hadn't seen it. I was already lying by then, just by doing my job. Some nights I'd hear things through the hallway. Raised voices, sudden silence, then nothing. The next morning, everything would be in place. Clean, covered. But her face would be hollow, her energy gone. Like she was moving on autopilot. She never said she was afraid of him. But everything she did told me she was. And I told myself I couldn't step out of line. That it wasn't my place. That she hadn't asked me for help. But I knew better. I was standing there every day, watching it happen. And I didn't stop it. Now I can't stop thinking about that. I was assigned to protect her. But all I really did was help keep her trapped. Her body kept changing, but not in the way you expect after giving birth. This wasn't recovery. It was deterioration. Some days she looked so weak it was hard to believe she was still standing, but she always was, holding the twins, brushing their hair back, singing under her breath, like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. I started noticing how she moved differently when she knew he was in the house. She'd stiffen, straighten up, check the hallway twice before stepping out. It was like her body shifted into survival mode. The room would go quiet the second his voice echoed up the stairs. The babies would cry more on those days. I don't know if they felt it too, but I wouldn't be surprised. The bruises never stopped. They just moved around. Some old, yellowed, fading out. New ones showing up behind her knee, under her collarbone, across the top of her arm, where a long sleeve couldn't always hide it. She didn't flinch when she caught me noticing anymore. She just looked away. One morning, I found her on the floor, sitting with her back to the wall, knees pulled to her chest while the twins napped nearby. She looked dazed, eyes locked on the ceiling, like she'd left her body for a minute. When she saw me, she stood up too fast and nearly lost her balance. She steadied herself and said, "I'm fine." She wasn't. She didn't speak about him directly, but her questions started to shift. Are the cameras backed up? If someone deletes footage, does it still stay on the server? Her voice stayed calm, but her eyes were sharper. She wasn't just afraid anymore. She was planning something. I started catching pieces of paper near her bed, tucked under books or behind the dresser. Notes in her handwriting, lists, fragments, maybe journal entries. They'd disappear by the next day. I didn't touch them. But I read enough to know she was documenting something. Maybe everything. Whatever it was making her more anxious by the week. She'd check the locks on her door, unplug her phone while she slept, keep the baby monitor turned off unless she was watching it. She stopped letting house staff into her room, even the ones who'd been there longer than me. She didn't trust anyone. Not anymore. And still, I stayed quiet. There were nights when I stood outside her door, knowing he was down the hall, knowing she was scared, knowing something was wrong. And I did nothing. Not because I didn't care, but because I didn't know who I worked for anymore. Or maybe I did, and that's why I kept my mouth shut. I've tried to tell myself I didn't have the power to change anything. That I was just a guard. That she never asked me for help. But none of that changes what I saw. Or the way she looked at me sometimes, like she was trying to decide if I was worth trusting, and deciding she couldn't risk it. She didn't say, "Help me." But she didn't need to. She was already trying to save herself. And I stood there watching her drown. By the time I came back into her life, Kim was already living on her own. No security, no house staff, no cameras in every room. Just her and the twins, in a quiet house where she could finally hear herself think again. Even if thinking came with its own kind of weight. We didn't reconnect because of some plan. I hadn't left Diddy's world for her. I left because I couldn't stomach what I was becoming. I disappeared to save myself. But when I saw what staying had done to her, walking away didn't feel like enough anymore. We didn't talk much about the past. We never had to. She knew what I used to do. I knew what she had lived through. That was the foundation. Silence that didn't need filling, just someone standing nearby who understood why the air never felt light. She started writing months after she left him. At first, she didn't even call it writing. She just said she needed to get certain things out of her head. She said they felt like rot. She didn't describe it like therapy. She described it like survival. Like every truth she'd swallowed was trying to claw its way back out. It started as scraps. Notebooks with scribbled lines, pages shoved into the backs of drawers, names left half finished. Some of the entries looked like timelines. Others felt like confessions. She never told me to read them, but she also stopped hiding them when I was in the room. One day she said, "If something happens, I want my side written down." Just once. She didn't say his name. She didn't need to. I asked her if she wanted help keeping it safe. She gave a small nod, and that was the end of the conversation. From then on, I stayed closer, not out of duty, but because she was finally trying to take something back. And I wasn't going to let her do it alone. The more she wrote, the more I could feel the shift. She walked differently. Still cautious, still looking over her shoulder, but with a weight in her chest that felt more like purpose than fear. The writing gave her that. But it also made her more of a target, and we both knew it. She started checking locks twice before bed. She'd turn her phone off completely and power it back, on only when she had to make a call. She stopped answering numbers she didn't recognize. Some nights, I'd find her staring at the front door, like she expected it to swing open without warning. She never said she was being followed. She didn't need to say anything. You could feel it. Something was tightening around her, slowly, like a rope someone was waiting to pull. And still, she kept writing. She wasn't doing it for a book deal or attention. She was doing it in case she didn't get the chance to speak for herself later. She didn't want them rewriting the ending. One night, she told me, "They always clean up the story after the body hits the floor." She smiled when she said it, like it was just a thought that passed through her. But I could see it in her eyes. She didn't think she was safe. Not from what she knew. Not from who she used to belong to. And neither did I. Before I go on, I need you to understand something. The only reason I'm telling this now is because she never got to. And if her story disappears like they wanted it to, it means they win. So if you're still listening, don't just sit with it. Share it. Subscribe if you haven't. This isn't gossip. This is the kind of truth they don't want passed around. The fear had changed. It wasn't just something in her voice anymore. It was in the room. In the way the air felt heavier each time I stepped inside. In the way she moved, slower, sharper, like every action had consequences now. She didn't ask if I'd heard anything new, unless she already knew something was wrong. Her questions were never random. Did he leave town this week? Have you seen anyone talking to my old assistant? Names she shouldn't have had to worry about. Patterns only she could see. I didn't always know how she knew, but she was rarely wrong. Her world was shrinking. The calls stopped. Messages didn't get replies. People who used to check in started keeping their distance. She said nothing at first, but her habits changed. Her desk stayed clear. She kept moving the notebooks. She started talking about backup plans, in passing, without ever explaining what those were. One evening she asked, "You ever get the feeling something's already been decided? Like it's not coming. It's already here, just quiet." She didn't wait for an answer. I started noticing how tightly she held herself when she spoke, like her body was bracing for impact, but trying not to look like it. She'd go hours without touching her phone. Said she didn't trust it. Said it glitched too much. One morning, she told me she found the light in the hallway on, even though she hadn't turned it on. Another day, her thermostat reset itself. Middle of the night, no warning. She didn't say these things like complaints. She said them flat, like someone keeping inventory. Her voice never cracked. But her energy shifted. Everything she did felt like preparation. She copied things by hand. Sealed envelopes she didn't label. Took long pauses mid-sentence, like she was editing herself in real time. There was no meltdown. No dramatic breakdown. She was past that. What I saw was something colder. Someone who knew what it looked like when the end of something began to creep in. She asked me to take one of the drives. "Keep it somewhere else," she said. "Don't open it unless something happens." She didn't say what something meant. She didn't have to. That night, before I left, she said, "They won't come loud. It'll be clean, quiet, neat, and everyone will pretend it made sense." Then she smiled, tired, hollow, like she'd already imagined it 100 times, and was just waiting to see which version they'd choose. And the truth is, so was I. I felt it in my chest before I ever saw the news. Not panic, just that slow, crushing weight that tells you something's already gone wrong. And there's nothing left to do but wait for it to show its face. Kim hadn't reached out in days. No quiet knocks, no slip notes, no questions passed my way. At first, I told myself she just needed space, that maybe she was resting or being careful. But in the back of my mind, I knew better. She didn't go quiet unless something was closing in. And then the silence broke. Not from someone I trusted, not from anyone who knew what it meant. It came through a headline, just a line. Kim Porter was found dead in her home, believed to be pneumonia, That was all. No context, no history, no mention of who she'd been or what she'd been carrying. Just a single sentence tossed into the feed and swallowed by the next hour's noise. I sat there, phone in hand, staring at the screen like it might blink and tell me something different. I read it again and again, but the words didn't move. They stayed right where they were, like they'd been waiting for me to see them. I don't remember standing up. I don't remember speaking. I just remember the weight hitting my stomach like a slow, deliberate punch. They'd done it. However they did it, they did it. And I'd failed her. I'd known. I'd seen it in her eyes every time we spoke. I'd felt the tension growing in her voice. The way she never let her back face a door. The way her hands trembled when she asked me if I thought someone had been in her house while she was gone. I saw it all. And I still couldn't stop it. She was right. She told me if they came for her, it wouldn't be loud. It would be clean, controlled. And by the time anyone noticed, it would already be finished. That's exactly what happened. They called it pneumonia. They said it was sudden. No sign of foul play. No autopsy results worth questioning. Just another quiet tragedy to nod at and move on from. A tired woman. A mother. A body found in bed. End of story. Except it wasn't the end. Because I knew what she'd been writing. I knew how many times she said she didn't feel safe. I knew the way she looked over her shoulder, even when the room was empty. That wasn't a woman sick with infection. That was a woman hunted by silence. And now that silence had taken her. Not just her body, but her voice, her truth. Everything she spent her last months trying to get down on paper, wiped out with one simple explanation. Pneumonia. Just the sound of it made me sick. After she died, I stopped talking to people. Not because I needed space. I just didn't want to explain anything. Didn't want to hear the way people softened their voices when they brought her name up, like she was some tragic footnote. A quiet loss. A sad accident. They didn't know what she went through. And I wasn't going to hand them pieces of her just so they could nod and say, "That's terrible," then move on with their lives. No one deserved to grieve her if they weren't listening while she was alive. So I kept my distance. I didn't show up anywhere regular. I didn't check in with the few people who knew I was still breathing. Most days I didn't sleep. I didn't care what happened to me. If someone spotted me, recognized me, came looking, so what? Let them? I was done hiding. I drank more. I let people talk to me any kind of way. Some nights, I let myself get dragged into things I had no business being around. I didn't care. Pain was the only thing that made sense. At least it felt honest. Grief didn't feel honest. Grief felt like nothing. Like sitting in a room full of noise and hearing none of it. The worst part wasn't even losing her. It was that she saw it coming. And I still couldn't stop it. She gave me the warning, gave me the evidence, gave me the time. And I still let her die. I'd look at the drive sometimes. Just hold it. Never plugged it in. Never opened it. I wasn't scared of what was inside. I was scared it wouldn't be enough. That after everything she risked, everything she documented, there still wouldn't be a way to prove any of it. And if that were true, then what the hell was the point? Other times, I thought about the opposite. That maybe there was too much in it. Maybe once I opened it, things would really start to move. And then what? What if I put her name back in their mouths? Only for them to bury it deeper this time. I'd stare at that drive and feel like I was holding her spine in my hand. The last piece of her they didn't get to strip away. And I couldn't bring myself to move. I wasn't trying to fix anything anymore. I wasn't trying to survive. I just sat with the silence, let it crawl into my chest, and told myself I deserved to feel every second of it. Because I did. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with any of this. Maybe nothing. Maybe just tell it. If you're still here, if any of this means something to you, don't let it sit. Don't let her name disappear like they want it to. Share it. Pass it on. That's the only thing I can ask. I didn't do this to heal. I didn't come here to make peace. I'm not looking for sympathy, and I don't care if anyone believes me. This isn't about justice. That word stopped meaning anything a long time ago. This is just what's left. A story. A woman. A warning no one wanted to hear. Until it was too late. Kim Porter tried to survive. She tried to protect herself. She tried to speak quietly, carefully, in a world that punished women for saying anything too loud. She knew exactly how they worked. She knew what it looked like when your life starts getting rearranged from the outside in. And she still didn't make it out. I didn't save her. I told myself I would, but I didn't. I watched it unfold piece by piece. And I stayed just far enough away to feel safe. But she never was. And now I have to live with that. I'm not here anymore. Not really. I left that version of myself behind the day she stopped breathing. Since then, I've just been floating. I don't talk to people. I don't check in. I move around like a shadow, taking up space in places I shouldn't still be. Most days I feel like I'm already gone. I eat when I remember. I sleep in other people's beds. I let myself be used. Sometimes I think I want to be hurt, just to feel something sharp again, just to remind myself that I still can. I'm sick now. I haven't told anyone, not that there's anyone left to tell. Doctor said it's moving fast. Said I should start treatment right away. I nodded. Haven't been back. There's nothing left to fix. Nothing to run from. I've been dying since the day I walked out of her life and left her to face it alone. And now, all I have left is this voice and the drive she gave me. I still haven't opened it, but I will. Maybe not for justice. Maybe not for the truth. Maybe just so the silence doesn't get the last word. I couldn't save her. I didn't stop it, but I can still tell it. If you're listening, keep it alive. Subscribe. Share it. Don't let them erase her twice.